Student, today I am going to explain history lesson number 4 in the earliest cities part 1. Now before explaining the lesson, that I am going to tell you story that is given in your textbook, that the two children are there, and the name of that is the Jaspal and Harpreet. They were playing cricket. In where they were playing the cricket, they were playing the cricket in the lane, and in the lane in front of their house. And they had seen what they had seen. There some peoples were there. They were admiring the old dilapidated building. Now dilapidated building means such a buildings that these some parts of the buildings fall down, or it is say in Marathi jirna building, it is say. And these peoples were admiring the building there, and these two children, those who were playing cricket, they were very surprising. Why surprising? Because they were thinking that that building is the haunted house. Haunted house means bhoot ka ghar. Now they were thinking that this is the haunted house, and why the people gathered there? But the people came, and some women were there, some men were there. They were admiring, and they were talking with each other. What they were talking with each other? See how that architecture is there, how the color is there. They were talking with themselves like this. And these two children, those who were playing cricket, they were very much surprised, because they thought that that building was a haunted house. Understood? Now these men and women, those who were observing that building, they said that it is so beautiful building that we must have to write to the minister to preserve it, to do the correction where necessary, to repair the building, and that building would be the best monument for the Indian people. Now see, these two children, those who were playing cricket, they were thinking that why the people are such interested in old buildings there, but peoples are interested, and we have to see such a buildings there, old buildings, in this lesson. And what is the name of the lesson? In the earliest cities. The story of Harappa. Here, the story of Harappa, here the Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, then Kalibangan, and Lothal, these 4 cities were there, and that stories we have to see in this part. Now see the picture of Harappan. Harappan city, where it is in the Indus Valley civilization. Very often old buildings have a story to tell. Now whenever the old building is there, that the building always tells us something different, tells us something history about that one. And mostly children thought that that is the haunted house, or that is the haunted building. But it is not like that. Whenever the old buildings is there, at that time we must go through the history, and why the buildings had been made, and what is the important of that building, that we have to see. Nearly 150 years ago. 150 years ago means what? Whenever the British rule was there, at that time the railway was not in our country. So British had first of all made the railway. When the railway line were being laid down for the first time in the Punjab, engineers stumble upon the sites of Harappa. And where is Harappa? Now it is in present day Pakistan. When the British government was there, at that time our country was not divided. Means the division was not there. Only only one country, and that was the Hindustan. But after independence, that our country has been divided into Hindustan and Pakistan. That's why this part Harappa nowadays were in the Pakistan. Now the engineers were there. They wanted to build the railway line, and whenever with the laborers also they went, the engineers and the laborers went to what? To being laid down for the first time. Then what happened? They stumbled upon. What is mean by the stumble upon? Means what? When they were going, something came in their feet, and they had seen it. Now stumble upon, it is saying in Marathi thech lagne. Stumble upon the site of Harappan in present day Pakistan. And what was there? To them it seemed like a mound. Mound means what? Is the heap of the stones or heap of such a clay there, and where the graves were there. Graves means whenever the people died, that these peoples were buried there, these Harappan peoples were buried there, and they had this is the engineer got it. What they got here? The rich source of the ready-made high quality of bricks. Bricks, for what is useful for that? Bricks are useful to construct the railway line, to construct the house there. And whenever they saw such a high quality bricks they found, they took out the build and they used that one. So they carried off thousands of bricks from the walls of the old buildings of the city to build railway lines. Now thousands of bricks they took out because they were digging for railway line, and they got such a mound there, and afterwards they took out that bricks and they used to build the railway lines. Now see the picture of mould. Here mould means raised mass of the earth stone or the heap of clay. Then about 80 years ago, archaeologists found the sites. What is meant by the sites? Sites means where the people were living before that, and that where the people were living there, and some evidences got where the people were living in particular place. Means some pots, some pans, some grains they got, and realized that this was one of the oldest city in the subcontinent. In the subcontinent means in India, as this was the first city to be discovered, and the archaeologists first discovered this city. This city developed about 4700 years ago, and 4700 years ago this city developed. Which city? That is the Harappa. Now what was the special about this city? Now which was the Harappa? One is the Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, then Kalibangan, this Lothal. These four cities were there, and every city has such a speciality. That what is the specialities? Just we are going to see it. Many of these cities were divided into two or more part. Of the more part to the west was smaller but higher. Now the west part is very smaller and but higher west. Now the east side the direction and the west direction and the east side direction, some these cities they got it. Now this what this they were very smaller but higher, and archaeologists describe this as a citadel. What is mean by the citadel? Citadel, it is in Hindi kila, means what? Where the suppose the city is there, and far away from the city on such a heighted place they were making such a castle there, and in that castle whenever the enemies were attacking to the city's people at that time, they were going to take shelter where? In the citadel. Now see, this is the picture of citadel. Citadel means what? Just I told, again I am going to say, a castle on high ground in or near a city where people could go for safety when the city was being attacked. Now whenever the enemies were attacking to the city, at that time the people were going where? To the citadel, and they were taking shelter here. Generally, the part to the east was longer. Now the west part, the citadel, just I told you. Now the east part, the part to the east was longer but lower. Means as usual they were making the house, and this was called the lower town, and where the town was situated. And whenever in such a towns where any enemies were attacking, at that time they were taking shelter where? To the higher places where the castle was there, and in that castle they were taking shelter. Very often the walls of big bricks were built around each part, and the eastern parts, this the lower town where the people were making the bricks, they were baked also there, and the fine bricks they were making to construct the house, to construct the factories also. The bricks were so well baked that they have they have last for 3000 of years. Now 3000 of years also that bricks were very fine, and the engineer, those who were digging the ground for making what, for making the railway line, they used that is because it was so fine. Means before 3000 of years, which bricks these Harappan people made, this 150 years ago these people used it. In some cities, special buildings were constructed on the citadel. Now, some cities were there, they were particularly constructing the citadels. For example, in Mohenjo-daro, a special tank which archaeologists call the Great Bath. Now, this Great Bath is very much important in Harappa, and the question also come in the examination, that is, this the Great Bath. What is mean by the Great Bath? Means we can say the swimming tank. Now see, the ancient peoples, they were using the swimming tank. Got it? And they were, who were taking bath in that? Most of the royal families. The royal families peoples, means kings and the queens, they were taking bath where? In that Great Bath. And Great Bath means such a large swimming tank. Here the picture of here the city of Mohenjo-daro and the Great Bath. Now such type of great baths were there, and their steps also were there. Two side steps were there. Now the people, whenever they wanted to go, at that time they were use any of the side, and the two sides were there. This great bath was built in this area. This was lined with bricks, coated with plaster, and made watertight with layer of natural tar. Natural tar means dabar. Means see, ancient times means 4700 years ago, these people were using the tar. They were plaster also doing, and they were using great bath. There were steps also leading down to it from two sides. Now just I told the two sides, the steps also were there, and they were going to take bath in that. Now other cities, this is this Mohenjo-daro speciality of the great bath. Now here other cities also were there. Which city? That is the Kalibangan, Lothal. Now Lothal and the Kalibangan had a fire altars. Now what is mean by the fire altars? Fire altars, it is say in Hindi Yagya Kunda. Yagya Kunda, now where the sacrifices may have performed. Sacrifices means Yagya. Means what? See, the ancient peoples were using such fire altars. Fire altars means Yagya Kunda. Now I know that you had seen it, that whenever the Navratri festival is there, now also we use such a fire altars. Whenever the Navratri festival is there, at that time when the Ashtami is there, now you can see the goddess Durga's, whenever goddess Durga's pendal there, some people make such a fire altars and do the sacrifices, and they put some ahutis also, that Yagya, that is the Swaha. It means what? The ghee and some grains they offer to the fire there, that is. And some cities like Mohenjo-daro, Harappa and Lothal had elaborate storehouses. What is mean by storehouses? Storehouses means warehouses. Whenever the excess grains were there at that time, they were storing in that. That is called the storehouses. And these Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, Lothal, here many storehouses the archaeologists had found. Not only that, they found the fire altars also, and they came on the conclusions that the people were doing the sacrifices. Now houses, drains and the streets. Now how these people's their houses were there, the drainage systems and the streets also. Generally houses were either one of two stories high with the rooms, but built around the courtyard. Now see, they also were building the houses having the double store houses. Means see, which we are using in the present day. We have learned from our ancestors, and they had built such a houses there, such a double stores houses, and most houses had a separate bathing area. Now see, whenever they were building the houses at that time, they were keeping in their mind which place they have to keep reserved for the bathing area, and then they were digging their separate wells also to supply water. Now see here, Indus River civilization, the houses you can see here, this type of houses there they were living, and that we can understand the double store houses, that Indus River Valley civilization means Harappa and the Mohenjo-daro, Kalibangan and the Lothal, the four cities were there. Many of these cities had covered drains. Now see, whenever the drain is drains means nalia rehti hai. So at that time they also were keeping that drains covered. Why? Because the hygiene of the people. Means we have learned it from our ancestors, just I told. Now also in front of our houses such a drainage there we have kept covered. Why? Because the germs could not enter in our house. So in ancient time also people were using that is. Each drain had a gentle slope. Why the gentle slope? Because the water flow very proper. That's why they were using it gentle slope. So that water could flow through it. Very often drains in houses were connected to those on the street and the smaller drains. Now in the houses also some drains were there. Now outside the house such a large drains were there, and from inside the houses such a small drain, they were connected where to the bigger one, and then they can keep their areas clean. As the drains were covered by the inspection hole, they were cleaning drains. Now see, the whole the drainage it was covered, but what they were keeping some temporary hole there. That hole is for what purpose? The inspection hole means what? For cleaning that one they were keeping it, and after cleaning that, after 15 days, 1 month, 2 days, whenever they are cleaning over, they were keeping again covered, that is. But whole the drains were covered, but only such a small holes they were keeping, and they were cleaning, that is. Now see the drainage system. Now see some parts of the drain covered and some they kept it that is the inspection hole. Now you have learned the part 1. Now you have I think that you understood the part 1. Then whatever your queries about that you can ask me. Thank you.